We acknowledge that the borders of Siskiyou County are imposed upon the homelands of the Shasta, the Modoc, including portions of Winnemem-Wintu, Wintu-Palm, Oquanachu, the Confederated Tribe of Siletz Indians, Akamawi, Waymak, Karuk, Yreka, Klamath, Pit River, Konamihu, and Chimariko peoples. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. So we want to acknowledge that the work that we're doing today and the work we do in the future is on their homelands, and to pay them appropriate respect.
The California Creative Corps, what is it? It's an economic workforce development recovery pilot program intended to fuel positivity, regain public trust, and inspire health and safety across California's diverse populations. The program itself is responsible for administering $16 million in workforce development funds to put artists to work to tackle issues that are critical to society. When the grant guidelines came out, the state gave us a little bit of a clue in terms of some of what these issues might be. So we're looking at water, energy, climate mitigation, disaster preparedness and response, think fire, public health emergencies, water and energy conservation, civic engagement, including election participation, social justice and community engagement, and public health awareness. And what we're doing, what you'll begin to realize, is that we're feeding you clues about what you might consider. Picture yourselves in its early spring, and Nevada County Arts Council, through the Upstate California Creative Corps, has opened up the possibility for you to apply for funding as artists, arts organizations, or as units of government in collaboration with artists or arts organizations. And you're thinking, what do I create a project around? So this evening, what you're hearing from us are just little clues about what you, for the most part, probably already know about yourselves, your watersheds, how your regions are divided according to the state in terms of economic regions. We're going to be introducing today a new tool that the state has given us as a way to evaluate our success when we give out these funds to you.
We all know that the mill fire destroyed a large portion of Lincoln Heights. I think it's one of the oldest still standing Black communities in the state of California, and it definitely is within Siskiyou County. This is an unbelievable cultural asset for the county of Siskiyou, and I understand that there's already been pledges of certain amounts of money to help with rebuilding that community. My personal perspective on it is we need to make sure that whatever rebuilding happens ensures that either the original Black community or a continuous Black community remains in that space. Otherwise, it does not feel like it is resilient rebuilding to me. It feels like it's essentially gentrification.
The least healthy communities are the dark blue areas according to the Healthy Places Index, and there are so many exceptions to this. And then the dark green areas represent the green areas in general are more healthy. And it's because, access to resources, urban areas, infrastructure. What does the Healthy Places Index use as markers for health? What are the factors that go into it? It's measuring economic factors, education, social, transportation, neighborhood, housing, clean environment, and healthcare access. We know there are so many more than that.
How many of you have a doctor, whether it's your primary care doctor or like an optometrist, dentist, that you go see regularly that is out of county, that you have to drive somewhere? How many people?
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. Do you think people who live in San Francisco have to leave the city of San Francisco to go see their doctors? So that's one of the things that this Healthy Places Index is attempting to demonstrate.
I thought we'd first jump into Tract 5, because Tract 5 is the one that's up here by Happy Camp. It has the lowest Siskiyou, overall score. What you'll see is that that's a conglomeration of all the scores of indices.
Notice when I clicked on that track, on the left-hand side it popped up with what the community conditions are. Those are the conditions that are measured by these things called policy action areas.
So this one's at the 16.2 percentile. And again, as a reminder, that just means that, so as far as comparing to other tracts, this tract has healthier community conditions than 16.2% of other California tracts.
But we're trying to give you clues
Well, that's
about
what the 100 minus
what
is.
we could possibly fund. So this is a dark blue area. It means there's a little bit of work to be done in this area. Let's look for the clues and how can artists rally around them.
So if Eliza wants to open up the economic one with that tab, we can specifically see, and we see that it's two of the factors to do with economics are in the dark blue.
Why does everything stop at 64? I feel disenfranchised. I'm a 66-year-old artist, and I am not my statistics are not included in any of this. We have a huge population of retired people here in this county, and they may not have a job. It may not be what they need. They have other needs.
I mean, I'm thinking of a marvelous project that my daughter, who's now 18, she's 18, yes, and she left high school last year. A fabulous project connecting culture bearers and older members of the community. Were given a number of kids to mentor. And it was one of the projects. I thought my daughter would find it, a bit of a stretch. She absolutely loved having her mentor to go to. It was some sort of marvelous intergenerational learning that went on through the arts. So I strongly, the worst thing you can possibly do is say this isn't for me. You've just got to make it for you because you have the talent and you have the experience. So you just shout it out.
Well, this tract has the highest Native American population percentage. So I just didn't want to skip over and leave it before we left because it's something that it's quite important for us to look at, and there was a really, really amazing discussion that happened in Butte County related to some of the, and it's not just reparations I'm speaking to, it's the wisdom, it's the path as we go forward, how we live in a direction with our landscape.
So if you look at Yreka, you can see it's an incredible right old mix, isn't it? And then right across the highway, look at this tract of dark blue. You would know more than we do. What is making that up? The one thing pulling it down is transportation, but also
economic
employment again. So you might have a small project that you think could really bring awareness to that. What might that look like?
I was very perplexed by the high school enrollment. It's quite low, 8.8 percentile. We don't know what's happening there. And again, that question of, what might be done, what can tie in, what could be something, maybe a project between the two tracks.
So the idea is that we inspire this small group of folks and those that are on the Zoom, that you go forth and inspire other people and perhaps start thinking up collaborations. Obviously, we want monies to go to artists who are proposing projects. They're going to somehow affect positive change or shine a light on some of the most critical issues to your communities, whether they're regional issues or very, very localized issues. You will know best and you will form the right partnership.
I do want to introduce my wife because she is a Legacy Tier California Arts Council Fellow.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you
amazing.
for 2021.
That was so hard to get.
So am I being asked to create, like in the WPA, I've seen works of great beauty. And can we keep the beauty part?
I'm with you on the beauty piece. I think it also ties in with the idea of the dignity of the artist. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And they're somehow related. And make that part of your case for support. Make it like, yes, we will focus on these issues that the state feels are important for us as a whole, but let them be things of beauty. Let this project be a thing of beauty.
Rather than dole it out in small amounts to individuals, I would like to propose the idea that we think about one project that we can use, one or two projects that we can use this money as seed money for, and that those projects explicitly be designed so that they are generative, so that they keep going after the grant period, so that we have them, after this money is gone, we still have that thing. This grant is saying, we know that artists are necessary for healthy communities. We know that you are vital parts of the community, and we are paying you to stay here and live here and be able to profit and be vibrant here.
When the WPA was paying artists, visual artists, after a certain number of years, what happened was that community spaces where art was created started organically forming. And so, and it's just, I love that. It just brings, you know, it gives me a lump in my throat when I think about that. Things naturally occur.
Are projects in the blue area going to be prioritized over the green areas?
They will, yeah, they will. And again, one of the reasons I showed you the pale green areas is that you can make a case for support. If something's pale green, that means there's something going on there.
The Sacramento River, the upper Sacramento, which turns into McLeod, Sacramento, and Pitt River, saw the first Chinook winter run salmon being taken to the McLeod this year. So that was like a really big event. It was led by the Winnemem Wintu, who are not a federally recognized tribe, but are very much present in the community.
Yeah.
And so that's another, like, you know, bioregional sort of impact that is a highlight and very exciting for our region. And I would encourage others to generate art around that. And then I also just wanted to say, like, you know, because of our poverty rate, it leaves us really vulnerable to the extraction economy, which is generally around timber and water in our region. So in ways that we can generate an economy that is not wholly dependent on extraction.
Unhealthy communities often is where people are very isolated. Isolation seems to play a part. And we know, we've already acknowledged this evening, that artists are so good at bringing communities together. And when that happens and things start to happen, it draws attention to something that's vibrant, that the community no longer wants to do without.
There is in Fort Jones, and they're not here, there's quite an active music community there, and they all seem to hide as soon as you look at them. But they all, but they're there, you know.
But I think what excites me the most about this funding is that it is a much more, there's potential for it to be a grassroots approach. And I think for myself as an artist and a community organizer, it's important for everyone, no matter what their experience is or their history, that they recognize themselves as artists, that they recognize their potential to be change makers in their community.
Artists were one of the hardest hit groups during the pandemic. We need to get them back to work because they still have not economically recovered. The history of mining in this area has really created some incredibly toxic areas in Siskiyou County that will remain toxic for thousands of years. Can't not emphasize how important the Klamath River is and how important the dam removal is.
I'm going to say that just because you have a lower population density doesn't change the administrative costs to run programs, and that's one of the things that we continually come up against. The other thing, especially out here, is market access for artists, and making art is a completely different skill set from marketing it and accessing that market. So, you know, yeah, you can have $5,000 to make an art project, but then what are you going to do next if you don't have access to being able to sell it and make more?
You know, what I see a lot of this town is we have like a lot of these dreaming sessions, and then we never have like a concrete finished end for the dreams. And I think it would be really nice to see some, like, you know, help and assistance and make some of these dreams actually happen.
So I would love to take some more of the vacant buildings that we have in this community and convert them into multi-generational live-work artist spaces.
When I see like one general idea and it's the fish, man, this is where we live. So if we think about the salmon and the recovery of the salmon, that's health, culture, jobs, everything combined. Who's gonna draw the sign of the fish to start with? You know, the artists, right? Very important, so we're gonna start with the artists first. In a sense, you know, in our tribe, culture, art, health, all that was in one.
If you use it as a capital investment in something that's going to last beyond the project period, I think that will guarantee larger, greater success for the community.
Coming to Happy Camp and setting up music programs for the elementary school, the high school, and the community, like a community choir or band or something. Children learning music is like the best thing on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
We've had a lot, I moved back 16 years ago. There's been a lot of these kinds of meetings that have this big vision for Family Foundation, you name it. And we have gotten some support, but we've never, to my knowledge, from an arts point of view, really gotten that big ticket.
And something that makes Country Palm was like the Salmon Festival. And I remember years ago we did a watershed festival. And when just hearing engagement, community engagement stuff, and thinking about hiring artists, you know, it seems like a no-brainer to hire musicians to come in and play a salmon festival and make, you know, donations and make it a yearly thing, so that it becomes something that increases, you know, tourism in the town, and people come in, and they could have all this whole art thing surrounding that, with plays, with things like that.
Who's missing here? Thanks for being here, kind of as a tribal representative today. The tribe should be here, right? We've actually got something called the Happy Camp Community Center, and a great staff. They should be here. Rita Manley for Happy Camp, she's a community go-getter. This community actually has a lot of individuals who care and who have been working on bettering this community. So there's a great set of folks. Vicky's our librarian, you know. So I would say that would be something to convene.
Because our culture was a pristine science, and then with that came our religion and our, you know, all of our ceremonies, and then our health was with that. And then you know, we passed that down for generations and generations. That's how this place was pristine. That's how it was the fish capital. That's how it was the biggest trees in the world around here. And that's how we managed it. And it's been mismanaged for, you know, over a century now, and this is where we stand.